Hello, I'm Marcus Boston. I'm a birth trauma attorney representing babies who have suffered a traumatic brain injury at birth and also their parents. And so what I want to talk with you today about are 5 things that I would do if I had a child who was in this type of situation and I didn't want to talk with an attorney immediately, but I had an inkling that the hospital or the doctors or the nurses were actually the cause of the baby suffering that brain injury. And at the end, I'll explain why this is important. But the first thing I would do is I would request the medical records from mom's prenatal visits. I would get all the records that were associated with mom's prenatal visits. These are important because what they can do is they can give you an idea as to what was going on during the prenatal aspect of things, where there are issues with infections, gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, whether mom was on time with all of her appointments and all of these types of things. I would get those prenatal records. The second thing I would do is this now surrounds labor and delivery, especially if you gave birth in a hospital. I would make sure that I have the records from mom. I would make sure that I have mother's records. This is important because as you're going through labor and delivery, the nurses and the doctors, they're making notes specifically in mom's chart. So things that are going on specifically to mom, those will be found in mom's records. For example, if there's any issues with contractions or if there's any other issues that mom may be having during labor and delivery, though, that information is going to be in mother's records. Number 3, I would make sure that I have the records for the baby. I would get baby's records. This is important, all right? Specifically, like for example, after baby is born, things like the baby's APGAR scores and whether the baby need to be resuscitated, any of these types of things, they are going to be found in baby's records. Really important. And number 4, I would make sure that I have the readings from the electronic fetal heart monitor. You've probably heard me talk about the electronic fetal heart monitor if you watched any of my previous videos, and I go into more depth as to why the monitor readings are important. Quickly, for example, the readings on the monitor, they will deal with what was your baby's heart rate. They will deal with whether there were late decelerations, whether there were acceleration patterns, variability issues, tachycardia, bradycardia, a whole host of other things. That's going to be found in the readings from the electronic fetal heart monitor. And number 5, if your baby had to be moved to the NICU or had to be transferred to another hospital for hypothermia cooling or any of that type of thing, I would make sure that I have those records also, the NICU records. Those records are important. Now, to wrap all of this up, why are these 5 things important? I said earlier, if you have any inkling that your baby, that the injury for your child may have happened because of something that the doctors or the nurses did, or the hospital, this may be important as you go into the future. You may not be asking or thinking right now that you want to speak with an attorney or go the legal route. That may be how you're thinking right now. But you don't know what you're going to think in the future as more information may be revealed to you. And so it's better to have these types of records now than to be scrambling and trying to get these records 4, 5, 6 years down the line. Second reason why also these records can be important. This is also if you're thinking about, for example, getting a second opinion. What if you're going to be looking to see if another doctor, or what if you want an opinion from another medical professional? Having access and having all of this information can be important on that end too, because you can already have some of the records that second opinion doctor or medical professional that they may need to either confirm a diagnosis or treatment or things like that, or they may not agree with it. So having these records for that second opinion aspect of things, that's important too. Before I finish, I want to also make sure that you understand that if you're going to go ahead and you're going to get these records or you're going to request these records, make sure that you request them in either an electronic form, either on some type of disc or CD, or have access to see if they will gift you these records in a portal or some type of format like that. To request medical records like this from the hospital in general, the request has to be done in writing or some form of documentation type of thing. But you want to make sure that you try to get the electronic version, because that can save you a lot of money on the front and back end in some instances with these types of things. Because if you have to have paper records, That can be extremely expensive depending on how much they're going to charge you per page, or if there's any type of processing or retrieval fee or any of that, all that type of stuff. So you want to make sure that you try to get everything, if you can, on an electronic format. If you have more questions, maybe you're watching this video today because you are at that point, you do want to speak with an attorney about your baby's traumatic brain injury at birth. Maybe your baby has an HIE diagnosis, hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, and maybe a subsequent cerebral palsy diagnosis. Maybe you have all of this type of stuff going on. If that is you, and you would like to speak with me further, there's a telephone number on the screen. I invite you to go ahead and pick up the phone and call me. I speak with families like yours all the time about these issues, and I'll be happy to listen to your baby story. One more thing before I get out of here. I practice law here in the state of Maryland. I know this video is on the internet and I can't really control who's going to watch it and who's going to look at it and everything like that. But just understand that if you are not in Maryland, understand that I have to use what we call co-counsel or local counsel. In other words, an attorney in your area. And that's something that we can help work with you on. But I just want to make sure that you understand that co-counsel or that local counsel aspect of things. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. We'll talk with you next time. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.